Welcome back to the European LCS. We're about to take a look at our game of the week between the #1 Fnatic and H2K, who are just one win back. We're going to dive straight into it and look at the lineup, starting with the undefeated Fnatic. Huni, Reignover, Febevin, Reckless, Yellowstar, and their coach, Daylor. Well, if they can pull out a strong win versus H2K, there's absolutely nothing stopping Fnatic from going 18-0. They're going to have to get past H2K first. They are on the red side for this one with Odoamne, Lulex, Ryu, Yarnan, Kasing, and their coach, Prolly. As well as Fnatic, a team that has an incredible amount of potential, and we've seen so much coming out of them already. After talking to Prolly next week, he said, well, we really want to beat Fnatic, so let's take a look at this matchup. It's easy to say. They're both incredibly strong, but they have different aspects of importance in their strong play styles.
They really do, but this is a matchup between the two teams in Europe that really have the strongest early games. H2K perhaps have the strongest as a team. We saw Divicio talking about him earlier in the Telestrator segment, how they lane swap very well, play as a team very well, and have this very early lead. Fnatic are perhaps individually the strongest laners in the early game, so have a very solid early game themselves, but tend to get into the game with their lead slightly later. So there's this ever so slight mismatch of styles, but both are very strong.
Yeah, definitely the case. And the one thing that definitely shows through between the two and how they differ is H2K are so much more focused around the towers, whereas Fnatic are a lot more focused around the neutral objectives, like the Dragon, like the Baron. If we actually take a look at some of the numbers, H2K don't necessarily need those Dragons and Barons to win the game. For them, it's about the towers and accelerating their lead. For Fnatic, on the other hand, it is. Contrast the numbers. H2K, 14 Dragons secured and given away. Fnatic, 24-13. Fnatic have double the Barons that H2K have. When you watch these teams win, they are both very good and they are both very confident, but they win through different ways. Through H2K, it's brute forcing their way through the lanes and steamrolling the concrete objectives. And for Fnatic, it's steamrolling through the jungle and steamrolling the flesh objectives of Dragon and Baron.
Yeah, and Fnatic often going for those early Barons as well. That fits in their style. But as said, H2K, they have so much pressure on those towers. And this is actually something that we've been talking a lot about in the office with the guys. So we're going to check in with our buddies over at the caster desk who have a lot more to say.
Yes, indeed we do, Shocks. We've been talking about this quite a lot, and we heard a little bit from you guys, but we have some strong opinions too. Guys, these are two teams that do look pretty similar, but we've seen some differences. What else do you think makes them different? What stands out? I
mean, we keep highlighting how H2K is so much more about getting down these early towers in the early game to create a goal lead and then start roaming around, where Fnatic is very team fight focused for themselves. And we see how they're always ready to go for these fights. It never feels like it's not Fnatic choosing to take the fight.
Yeah, and the difference in these two teams manifests whether they're lane swapping or not. In a lane swap, Fnatic towers stay roughly even, so they're even slightly behind in towers, whereas H2K, they have an average 3.0 tower lead at 20 minutes. That means they take down all the enemy's towers and not lose a single one, or they have 4 towers to 1. That is so massive. So they are the kings of the lane swap. And in addition to that, they also get more dragons. Usually you think a team in the lane swap gets more towers, so they sacrifice dragons. No, H2K gets everything in lane swap, whereas Fnatic, in standard lanes, it's the opposite almost.
Yeah, it is for them, and it's Stress just said it on the analyst desk, how Fnatic have so strong individual players. They have so many different carries on the team, and that's also why they tend to rely more on getting them fed instead of just trying to rush down objectives on the map. They're more like, no, we need to have these laners going here. If Huni's falling behind, you put him in that side lane, and he can sit there and freeze the wave a little bit, get a bit farm, and then catch up, and then suddenly he becomes the carry we know in the late game. So it's going to be so much about here, can H2K get that lead in the early game, or will Fnatic get to play their style where we know they shine in these mid-game team fights?
Yeah, Fnatic, they play the early game slower. They just wait up to get to full charge, and they're really good at covering their grounds while they do it. They don't lose many towers while they're defending in these normal lane situations. But in lane swaps, obviously you have to trade objectives, whereas H2K, they're so good at those lane swaps because it's so fascinating the way they move around Youngbuck as a resource. Not Youngbuck, Odoamne as a resource in those lanes. And they put him down in the bot lane, then they dive with him, then help him get back into the game. So they're constantly grouping up a lot more in this early game and always getting an efficient objective off the back of their plays.
Yeah, and they're the team that seems to definitely be more comfortable taking that lane swap scenario. Fnatic, by contrast, they're only able to secure a couple of towers in those first 20 minutes. They definitely, I think, rely a bit more on their strength in the 2v2 scenario and 1v1 up top.
Well, that's kind of weird, because when you look at Fnatic, you normally don't look at Reckless and Yellowstar and say, this is a strong 2v2 lane. They're very, very good at other parts in the game. Like the team fighting for Reckless is fantastic, the roaming from Yellowstar. I think still they are a fine bot lane, but Huni's one-on-one is where he really, really shines. Like, he wants to be in that one-on-one lane, but Odoamne has shown that he can handle himself as well, so it's going to be fun to see how Fnatic wants to play that early game, if it's going to be about Huni or maybe about Reckless Yellowstar.
Yeah, but Yellowstar and Reckless are so incredibly good at going even.
Yeah.
They don't ever need their jungler to help them out. They will always lose ever so slightly or go even with often scaling picks. You know, the likes of Sivir go into the mid game. Only when they play Kalista they put more offensive pressure, and that's fine because it allows Rainhover to play around his solo lanes. And if he can protect Huni and Shadow Febiven, then that's enough to get into the mid game comfortably where Fnatic starts to shine.
Exactly. Let's see though for champs like Pyra.
Yep. I'm really curious to see what they start off with. Wanted to get to this, but it's a good time since we're now in that pick and ban phase. You talked a little bit about Huni and how he likes this 1v1. He's the guy that has 75% of bans thrown at him. They put 4 on him last week. Copenhagen Wolves effectively with that first pick Echo as well.
But that's a strategy. I know, Crepo, you were talking about this last week, how it almost feels like it's wasted bans, because Huni has shown he has so many different picks he can use and he can carry from, even Lulu last week here. Let's see if H2K changes anything. Kalista, I like this one. We know Reckless is a fantastic Kalista player, and you expect that to be the first pick. Fnatic, they tend to be very focused on target bans.
Fnatic usually like targeting the enemy supports if they're good for like getting the vision out for those teams. They want to hit them where they're the weakest, you know, hit them in their vision control and then try and control the map slowly, because they know if they get to 20-25 minutes, they're comfortable playing out the game. And as you said, Huni, he always gets his champions, but maybe H2K go for a bit of a different approach here.
Definitely with the first ban for them, and also Fnatic here. We just mentioned these target bans they like to go for. Fizz is being banned away. We've seen Ryu played in the mid lane. It almost feels to me like Fnatic is saying, we just don't want to risk the potential snowball that can happen from a Fizz, so we just ban it away, even though it's not considered by many a must ban against H2K. I think this is one of the first times we've seen it really being banned away against Ryu.
On the other hand, we also have a ban targeted at Febiven. I mean, obviously, there's a very strong pick all around, but this is something that until a couple of weeks ago, he was really playing almost incessantly, and I feel like they're just not wanting to have to take that one on the Echo. I don't think you can really blame them here either for that.
And now H2K has to make a decision. Do we ban one of the tier 1 junglers and try and force Fnatic to take it or trade it for Sivir? Or do we just ban a third option and give that Sivir pick away to Fnatic? Because we know how contested it is from both of them. They could ban it as well, but then once again, we're going to trade tier 1 junglers, but that opens up the likes of Alistar as a potential first pick then for Fnatic, and still getting the jungle pick they want.
And finally, a Riven ban coming out. If this was any other ban, this would have been the first time Huni would end up not being targeted. I believe this is still the first time there's not 2 bans targeted at Huni. So he has a big champion pool open, but as you said, with so many champions for Huni, Sivir.
Yeah.
I think it's the correct pick here.
It is, of course. Kalista is banned away. Sivir goes up in value. Both teams really play well around the Sivir. H2K likes it for the tower pushing, and then use it then to snowball the lead. Later on, Fnatic just wants it for these big team fights, but also because Sivir is a champion that can almost always go even, because she has so good wave play herself. You can just sit back in lane. You don't have to play offensive, and that really fits in the style of Reckless and Fnatic here. So very standard first pick.
I wonder what H2K is going to reply with. I almost feel like Corki in terms of mid-game power spikes and utility, and just being able to be played in multiple lanes later on in the game is a good answer for H2K. They don't have to pick it just yet. And then in terms of tier 1 jungler, usually Fnatic seems to favor Rek'Sai, and so has Lulex in the past. So getting the Rek'Sai steal here,
I want Alistar. I want to see Alistar for H2K, and I'm happy they lock it in. You don't want to give Alistar Sivir away.
That's true.
To anyone, honestly, because it's just such a good combination in the amount of plays you can make through the laning phase and also tower dives into team fights. But also for H2K's side, taking a Rumble is because you didn't ban away anything against Huni. It's a champion Odan has played a lot, and it's a champion that fits H2K really well, because one, you can lane swap, and you can fall slightly behind, but also you shine in the mid game so much where they like to really extend that goal lead.
Yeah, and this is the thing that's very much confident for Odoamne. This is a champion that he's had a great amount of success on already in this split, and he's the one who contributes the most damage out of any top laner on his team. I feel like they feel comfortable taking this in anything Huni can throw at them. Whether that's a mistake, still to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, again, if it's a tough lane matchup, you swap it around from H2K. Fnatic has gone for Olaf a few times when Rek'Sai were open. Let's see what Rain decides to do on his. Olaf.
I was going to say how it becomes very hard for H2K to land those equalizers against a team that has On the Hunt. In addition to that, you won't be able to stop the Olaf from charging at you. Febiven will be able to keep himself at bay, so those equalizers will be very hard to land.
And I wonder if this destroys the plan a little bit for H2K in case they want to go for the likes of Jinx. It's something we have seen time and time again for Yanan.
You need a gap closer.
Also into Siva. Yeah, that's the thing. With these picks here from Fnatic, Jinx suddenly becomes super difficult to play. And also, you don't want to lack any sort of all-in potential against the Jace who's already been locked in, because the amount of poke that's going to come from, I expect... No, honestly, this is a flex pick. Huni can play it top, Fibben can play it in the mid lane. Victor has been a pick he's gone to when it was blind picking for Fibben. That could fit in here for Fnatic.
We'll probably see the Janna on Yellow Star again, and he usually likes to run that disengage when he has such an offensive jungler coming in. He can build Talisman too. I like this Corki pick. I was saying it earlier, I think it's the best pick for a multitude of reasons. You have the wave clear coming out. You can put Corki in the mid lane with pressure, like H2K likes to do so. Combine that then with Lulix being able to tag team with the support, Kasing move around for vision, and just have a generally early game power spike.
But we are so mid-game focused from H2K here. Rumble, Corki, even Rek'Sai. They have to be able to get a lead in that mid-game against Fnatic. Otherwise, just looking at their picks already, the late game is scary. If they go for another scaling champion, like, again, say, just take the Victor as an option, then Fnatic's late game is going to be completely insane.
But this does speak to H2K's style a little bit more. They're a team that likes to get rolling around that mark. They tend to have fairly solid gold leads. I think the average at 10 minutes is something around 1.3K.
Yeah, and then in lane swaps even more.
Yeah, even more when they actually get into those other situations. So there we go. Whoa, okay, that's a quick lock-in for Fnatic, and now we know where they're going.
Now you do have to remember, if you play triple threat in the mid game and you snowball, then Fnatic's composition will become incredibly hard to play because they can get rolled over. If Fnatic somehow gets behind, then those carries, they're lacking a real tank, and there's no really disengage from the Olaf, so only the Janna will get the fight.
And also double tier running from Fnatic on Jace and Ryze, so it's going to take quite a lot of time in the mid game. So like, Fnatic is basically saying, we know you're going to be the stronger one in the mid game, but we can play around it and get to late, and then suddenly our composition is going to be that much stronger. We haven't seen a lot of Ryze lately. It's been banned a few times, but also a lot of teams just stop picking it.
We've been talking about this lane swap over and over again, and I feel if H2K get it off, they're better in lane swaps.
Yeah.
They have better lane swap picks, double tier on Fnatic, and they can keep down Huni in the lane swap. If that happens, this could be so interesting to see if Fnatic will be the first team to challenge H2K in this lane swap, and double poke with Rumble, with double tank, because your Alistar is tanky. I like H2K's composition here, Deficio.
It's the same again here. Varus fits into this mid-game poke. You get that early armor penetration, you get the cooldown reduction, and you have a fantastic setup in that sense. Fnatic's main wave clear is going to be from Reckless on the Sivir, so he's going to be stuck in that mid lane, obviously. But Fnatic have to find a way to survive the mid-game.
And the biggest thing is this Varus adds another 80 damage, part to H2K's composition, because with Rumble and Corki, you run the threat of becoming so magic focused that it was very easy for Fnatic to itemize efficiently against that. But just having the 80 poke and the AP poke, combine that with Rumble, is such a versatile composition in terms of damage.
But as you mentioned yourself, I mean, there's only the Olaf who's really going to be stacking tanky items, because like Ryze, we know the new one here, it's full AP focus, still the Rod of Ages and the tier, but it's AP, it's not a frozen heart. From what we see, the mana ratios are just not that strong on him anymore.
And with that now, the lineups are locked, guys. It's time to find out if the spring champions, of course, is Fnatic, can hold their own against H2K in our game of the week.
One team that we haven't faced yet. They still have to face H2K to prove themselves.
I think we're slowly becoming maybe one of the best. They're a really strong team, but if they make one mistake, they don't know how to come back. I still feel like they're not unbeatable, as people portray them to be.
If we beat Fnatic, we can have a chance of getting the #1 spot.
I think we're still gonna be #1.
And here we are, starting off this matchup. Don't forget to keep sending in your predictions and prophecies. That is at LOL Esports, #FNC win, or #H2K win. Let us know who your #1 in EU is. And of course, we have a slight pause, so a bit of a awkward start to that one, but that's okay. We get to build the tension a little bit more here.
Sure.
Hey, I don't mind talking more about
why don't you, we had a lot to say. Why don't you guys keep going?
Well, I mean, we can go back to the lanes here for Fnatic. Because if you look at the lanes here, you got double range in the bot lane, Sivir, Janna against the Alistar on the side of H2K. We know Sivir does well into the Corki as well in that matchup. The Rise into Rumble, once you start hitting that level 6 mark and you start spamming your W, Rumble can't really do a whole lot. So,
you know what I think, Deficio?
I think one team, one standard, one team, one lane swap.
I think H2K won a lane swap here.
Oh yes, they do.
We're going to have to keep an eye on it for the first couple of minutes and see. These are two teams that are really good at trying to figure out what the enemy team is doing. They predict these things. They get the deep wards in almost all the time.
Yeah, usually not only did they get the deep wards, they also plan ahead very many moves. You know, when you see H2K play, especially last week, it seems like they had the entire map planned out. Every move 1 or 2 steps ahead. Now, when you face a team that's also 1 or 2 steps ahead, it becomes such a mind game. I remember a situation last week where we were talking about Origin could potentially dive Huni, but then it never happened because Huni based, and then we thought, does Origin know that Huni's going to know that they're going to base? And it becomes so complex that you start, you know, imagining whether teams are actually outplaying each other or whether you're just going crazy.
That's why this match is going to be so awesome.
We called it a chess match, and that's the thing. There's so much thought, there's so much going on behind the actual scenes that you can literally just go on forever, like in that loop of, are they going to do this? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do this? And at what point do you break out of that cycle?
And yeah, chess indeed. I feel like whenever I watched Fnatic so far play, they were playing chess and their opponents were playing checkers. Mostly the same for H2K, so we'll actually finally see our first chess match. And
H2K know how to play this game.
We
still know though that if we look at Fnatic H2K and how the games went when they played last split, Fnatic would often end up getting into team fights where they were simply stronger than H2K. They could outplay them in the team fights through just the talent they had on the team, with the likes of Huni with FIP event. And that was a problem for H2K. However, now it feels like everyone has really stepped up on H2K's side. Odoamne is a massive carry in the top lane. Yanin, many people consider him one of the best, if not the best AD carry in Europe at the moment. So suddenly I feel like they can match them a lot better in that sense. And that's why H2K suddenly has another tool as well now against Fnatic. But it's going to be very even. It's going to be about these small plays, predicting each other's moves, and then about the lane swap.
And yeah, both of these teams have a style that doesn't really hit a ceiling. If you compare H2K to Unicorns of Love, they came into the split, you know, at similar points, but we feel like UOL maybe has hit a ceiling, whereas H2K is constantly progressing. And Fnatic for the same thing too. They had a really solid run in the spring split. Fantastic run, honestly, with a completely revamped roster around Captain Yellowstar. And then they replaced Steelback with Reckless. He fit in perfect piece in the puzzle, and they're getting better and better. They're not giving away as much as they used to. Fnatic in spring split, slipped up here and there, but now they're so efficient.
They are, and that's really been the big improvement. And one of the things I like about this Fnatic team, and also about H2K, is when you talk to the players and the coaches, they never say, yeah, we're the best team, we're happy. No, it's always like, no, we have like 5 mistakes here, we need to play this pick more. We can see Fnatic are trying out new picks. They keep going for Olaf over Rex like Gragas. They really value that pick so much, and we see some changes all the time from these teams. That's how you get better and better as well.
Absolutely.
And I think we're going back into the game because
this is a team that is quite scary, even more so than we saw them in spring. And you're right, Crepo. After a brief delay.
I had a little cheater peek on my side screen here. That's why I was grinning so much, because I saw people moving. We're heading into this match. Fnatic against H2K.
Let's keep an eye on this potential lane swap scenario. Right now, H2K do indeed have Odoamne in the bottom, but it's very early on, obviously, sub 1 minute. And Fnatic are, of course, going for that top side, get the deep wards in.
It's such an obvious lane swap that we might see a mind game here by H2K by just sending their dual lane bot and having Fnatic preemptively call the swap and let it play out that way.
Yeah, as we go into this one, we'll take a look at Huni on this rise. He has had it banned away from him somewhat, and his kill participation when he's managed to get it, though, has been through the roof. Let's see if that actually happens again as H2K. They're backing after a couple of their deep wards. Will they wander into this jungle that Fnatic seems to be laying a trap for?
Well, let's see. They're spawning down the bottom lane with the ward here on to Yanin. Oh, sorry, Reckless.
Oh, Reckless is going to fake it. Oh, I love this.
Yeah, he's going to recall now, and he's going to head up to the top lane, H2K.
They're going to move into the mid lane and wait for something to show. This is the ultimate fake, because they only saw Reckless. I think H2K is smart enough to read this. They read it perfectly, because they know... Oh, this is so tricky.
But it's so tricky, because they're not going to see anyone, because there's no wards in the lanes to spot them.
Yeah, but
they see the minions here coming in.
Usually they see support and the AD carry past that ward, and if only the AD carry plays it, you know it's a fake. H2K is reading this.
They look like going top as well.
There are way too many mind games. In
No. This is so clean by H2K. This is so smart.
They get the lane swap they want.
Fnatic's going to be surprised. I'm going to watch the player cams right now.
With that, we effectively have what we expected H2K to want. So double jungling, of course, comes in as well, and it's off to, after a moment of hesitation, more or less a standard start from H2K's perspective.
Exactly what they wanted, at least. From this level 1, they get to start on their own strong side, so they're instantly just invading in because Fnatic is obviously taking the top side here. We see odoamne in this Rumble. I think it's been one of his best picks. It's really been a perfect one for H2K, but it's been one where he's been caught out a few times.
That's the only thing you can fault odoamne for, is he gets ahead, but then he gets a little greedy. H2K always get a cross-map objective. We see fast 4v0 push here on both sides. I just want to point out, Huni, his rise, that's his lowest KDA across the board.
Yeah, he's been ganked quite a lot, but so goes for every single rise we have seen, and yet once you hit 2-3 items, you become, not even 2-3 items, honestly, once you hit level 6, you can start trading with everyone, and then late game, you are still this absolute beast. But what Fnatic can do here is decide to fast push the lane swap, and then try and swap back to standard lanes, but if H2K, they can do the same and just keep mirror around it here if they want to keep the swap going and keep denying Huni. Obviously this wave up top from Fnatic has to be bounced back so Huni can sit in the lane and take it, but instead, for them now, they're just going to wait for it to push out.
Huni does have an experienced lead on his
They can give him solo XP now. I like this from Fnatic. They're already leaving here and saying, okay, Huni, you get the rest of the minions for yourself, so we make sure you get a small advantage. odoamne then has to make a decision with the rest of H2K. Do we want to swap top now with Rumble? Take these standard lanes? Oh, Zoe's going mid.
Oh, Febiven could be in some trouble. He's going to have to burn his flash right away. Rainover coming in a little bit late, going to ghost his way through. Ryu, the axe comes down. Febiven's there. Lou likes to teleport. H2K might have baited this one out, and that's going to be canceled.
Yeah, good reaction by odoamne. He had to teleport in. Because I feel Ryu should have flashed earlier. He should not let that Olaf axe connect, because it's so crucial to, get those snowballing axes over and over. But good move by Fnatic. They recognize that Huni is their #1 priority in this game, and they hand him off to Freeze.
And H2K, they see the same thing, so they keep odoamne on the bot lane and now want to send the dual lane to the top side. See if they can deny a little bit more, but this is something both teams like to do, to try and make the top laners catch up.
Problem is odoamne does not have his TP anymore, and he's at threat of being dove. And everybody on H2K side is moving to the top side, so they're getting a piece of their own medicine possibly.
I like this ward here from Fnatic as well in the lane to see if anyone from H2K is moving back down to assist odoamne here. At the moment, they know he's alone. They even see 2 guys on the top side.
Oh boy.
So they're going to go straight for a dive. He's only level 2 at this point, and he's going to fall very far behind. Even TP from Huni.
Yeah, Huni knows that he could be dove as well, and he comes in.
That is going to be Odo realizing he's not got anywhere to go. First blood to Rainover on a beautiful dive.
And this is so smart by Huni because he prevents the mirror from happening. He knows he's going to lose that farm on top lane. He knows that if H2K is not bot to defend, then they will be top. When he comes in, shares in that XP, shares in that gold, puts himself further ahead against his direct lane opponent.
And this again is just 2 teams trying to think a few steps ahead and saying, okay, what's going to happen now? Fnatic were just 1 step further ahead of H2K. They knew what was going to happen. Also Huni, because he was left in that top lane, had a great position to get some farm and get some XP before he had to leave. While odoamne was more or less forced to say, like, I need to do something, otherwise I fall way too far behind.
And this is the 7th first blood that Huni has participated in for Fnatic.
Not only that, but this is the start that H2K wanted with the swap. Fnatic have just taken it from what looked like not their optimal situation. They translated into a dive, they translated into a tower, they've now got themselves a dragon on top of it, and they're looking great to start this game off.
And honestly, I think this goes back to the play in mid where Rainover connected an axe on Ryu and he forced odoamne's TP, and this puts you behind a move in the chess game because teleports are so crucial for these teams, because very rarely do we see them die in lane. Every team play, I feel Fnatic gets ahead in the early to mid game, involves either the pressure or the actual use of a teleport.
That and also the fact that Fnatic were faster in their play around the top tower, getting the tower down and swapping back to the bottom lane. We saw how both Yellowstar and Rainover were ready to go and dive odoamne instantly as Reckless showed up in the lane. H2K were setting up the entire play, so they were a few seconds delayed, and that bought enough time for Huni to also say, okay, now I can TP away, I can join down here, get an assist for myself. He's back up in his top lane now, and odoamne is falling behind, but Ryu is going even in the mid lane.
Yeah, and in the game of lane swap, minions don't matter as much, just experience does, and we see Huni here winning experience lead on odoamne. Even though the CS differential was only 4 earlier, it's now expanding, and they're finally matching up in a 1v1 in the top lane.
Yeah, but right now this is of course going to mean that Huni has a little bit of an easier time. Yes, he's going to take longer to scale, but Odo, he was slowed down so much by this, and you're right, it isn't just the minions' experience, but he's still the level down. Can he really deal, or are they going to need to send up Lulex?
Well, this is one of the reasons also H2K picks Rumble, is because they can get in situations like this where your top lane does fall behind and you can still be effective in the mid game, but it's no longer that much about Odomne. It's about what Yanin and Rio can do now. They are even in CS for them. They're going towards the first item. I mean, again, you want that cooldown reduction for Rio, you want the Trinity Force, and then we can start seeing H2K group in the mid game.
And let's go back for a minute and talk about what we know these teams' threats really are. We talk about triple threat compositions and triple threat teams and how that they're the strongest teams in Europe right now. H2K with Odomne kind of out of the picture for a little while, that reduces the number of threats on H2K's side. So what does Fnatic next need to do to really ensure that they have this early game?
I mean, they want to keep snowballing, but what speaks in H2K's favor, however, is that they're running a double poke composition. Their double poke members are still in the game, and Odomne can just provide utility with the equalizer right now. It's just a matter of fact if they can snipe Huni in these fights, and we'll need to see crucial Varus ultimates.
Yeah, especially
and potentially dives on mid lane too.
Especially because one of Rumble's problems is if he's left as the guy trying to defend a side lane once we go further into the game, he's not that strong one-on-one. He's a big team fighting champion. So the problem is here, the Ryze is gonna beat him one-on-one throughout the entire game. This means H2K, as we said before here, they're gonna rely 100% on Rio and Yanin to make the plays as a group to land that poke. That's how H2K is gonna try and snowball it and then see if they can move Odomne down to join a team fight.
I had a quick look-see and it appears that Odomne is about half a level down. So he wants to reach that level 6, that's why he's calling in Luigi in the top. However, Janna as Sivir doesn't really do that much. Jace is still scaling. Fnatic can't press home their advantage and they're allowing H2K to free up a resource to use to go even, but usually H2K uses those extra resources to get ahead. So in a sense, this is good for Fnatic.
It is, but this is, you know, they had a bit bigger of a lead, right? And you said it yourself that now things have kind of evened up in the lanes. Let's see if Fnatic can translate this around.
Lulex.
Rain over Huni coming in. They have their sights set on the Queen of the Xursa. Instant flash. There's the Rune Prison. They're going to jump all over him as Rain over Ragnaroks onto Lulex for another kill.
Yeah, level 6 on Rain over here, and just the skirmish potential of a Ryze Olaf together. Fnatic knew they were going to be stronger in it, and they went straight up for it. Double tier stacking for them now.
And they're 1,000 gold ahead. You say it right there. Double tier composition with Sivir scaling into the mid lane, and already 1,000 gold ahead. We've praised H2K's macro game, but Fnatic, they take the better out of this early game.
But again, for H2K, right now it's just about wait. Wait for that Trinity Force completed. Wait for Rio to pick up an item in the mid lane as well. Hopefully also get some cooldown reduction to be shorten the CD, get level 9.
Full Legolas.
So you get the rank 5 of your Q. Miss your ulti, that adds in as well. But
that's just normal. If you play Varus mid, this happens in every game.
All the time.
I think the exception to the rule is actually Varus.
How many
Varus by Yellowstar
have you played? But Yellowstar is narrowly able to avoid what could have been a very rough situation right there. Dragon's going to be up in a minute and a half. Remember, it was very early taken by Fnatic after that dive down bottom. And they're the team that relies more on these Dragons, too, to get their wins, whereas H2K doesn't seem to prioritize this particular objective.
Yeah, normally, again, for H2K, it's purely about the towers, but if you know you have to wait a certain time and you might see a free opening of that Dragon, you can still go for it. Both coaches sitting down here, enjoying the game, Daylor and Prolly.
Now, Taylor will have the better in this conversation because he used to be a poker pro. So he's not, right now, he's giving probably some false hope. It's like, yeah, you guys are only 2,000 gold behind, it's still going to work. And then come the mid game, once their double tier starts stacking up,
he goes all in.
Then he's going to go all in and crush poor Ripple Crawler.
That is indeed the plan right now. So let's take a look at where we're at. We're 11 minutes into the game. It's been a lead for Fnatic just by the fact that they've gone a little bit more proactive, I would say, than H2K.
Smart.
But H2K got the swap they want. Remember, they just weren't able to do anything with it.
That was the thing with the way Fnatic played it, because they were the ones swapping to top lane. They were a step ahead of H2K, so they got rid of that lane and then got to set up the play on Odomne, who, as you pointed out, Cripple, had to use that TP as well.
Honestly,
towards the mid lane.
I think H2K could have pushed quicker as well, but they just decided to deny more creeps to Fnatic. And the problem was once they bounced that wave to Huni, H2K tried to do the same, but then Reckless was already there to threaten Odomne, and it all goes back to that initial gank in the mid lane.
And also just the fact that, as we highlighted, Fnatic recalled very early from the top lane. They let Huni just kill the tower on his own to move faster down to that bot lane. Now we see
tempo.
Focus around the Dragon here from Fnatic's side. Everything is completely warded up. they are ready to fight because they've already gone back with the AD carry. BF sword for Reckless.
If big spike.
If Yanin recalls now, Dragon dies instantly, and that's another ult from Ryu.
Ulti connects.
But they could lose Febiv in here as he's forced to flash away. In comes Odo and Lulex. Oh, the damage from the shock blast, but it won't matter as Ryu will take him out. However, H2K are a little low for this one. Fnatic collapsing. In comes the Howling Gale. Ryu's got to flash it.
It's gonna hurt for H2K.
Yeah,
Reckless though.
Right around the side. He's gonna find Lulex and Ryu's gonna find Rainover. Rainover finds him, takes him down. The axe is mightier than the bow. Now Yarnin is gonna get blown up. That's Reckless. That gets the kill credit. H2K bailing out. And it ends up being a 2-for-1.
Little bit of hesitation on H2K's side on that dive. Ryu connects the Varus ultimate, but yeah, Odo they wasn't sure to use Equalize. He uses it, but Ryu Febiv buys enough time.
Yeah, I would love to see H2K just be happy with the fact they got cleanse and flash away, and then just step away from there.
Too much.
In the end, when you start diving in between two towers, also with the fact that bot lane, look at your minimap here, how Fnatic is already pushed up the bot lane, and Rainover is nearby, so they can very quickly rotate into this mid lane and help.
Ulti connects. Go with the Equalizer, but the defense flash from Febiv just look at how much time he buys. He burns the Summoner too. Now you have 3 members on 20% HP, or less. Huni coming in, the flank from Janna, Alistair, and Olaf, and I feel Reckless could have just fought them here too.
And everyone is simply, from H2K's side, just a step behind or being zoned out a little bit because, again, the lanes were pushed up and they had to risk running straight into Fnatic in the end. Reckless almost going down, but it's a one fight for Fnatic. They get that first dragon. They are a team who likes to get these dragons, or second dragon, sorry. They play around it. They play around Barons as well. That's how they close out games.
Now, usually H2K don't have to play around dragons because they can take 1 tower, 2 towers, 3 towers, and by 19 minutes they have an inhibitor open almost. But right now their early aggression was tempered. Fnatic's in the lead, 3,000 gold.
You definitely know a thing or two about tempered stuff, that's for sure, Crepo. Let's take a look again at that Dragon and Baron control. Fnatic is the team that is all about these Dragons. They're proving it right now, but they're also getting off the back of fights.
Here's Huni.
And let's see if they're able to do it again. Yarnin is gone. In comes Odo. Huni's gonna follow. Top laner and an AD carry down.
Yeah, look at the top lane here for Fnatic saying we can take the fight bot lane because we know if 2 guys shows up, in this case the teleport from Odo Amne, a tower goes down on the other side of the map. Huni has gone to the point of this rise now where you can start doing stuff like this.
Yeah, this is Huni in the opening of the show. We said 2.0 KDA on that rise. Not that high if you'd expect Huni average rise, but he's drawing all the aggro, and this opens up the map for Fnatic to take objectives in the mid lane, in the top lane. Huni goes 1-for-1, kill for assist for H2K, but they lose a tower.
We are at the point now though where H2K has to start grouping and has to start using Yarnin and Ryu to kill and the poke they can land. If Reckless is not in the mid lane, it becomes a bit difficult for Fnatic to wave clear. But at the same time, you hit that point where Fnatic is strong enough to just engage a fight, and then suddenly you can never set up that siege.
Do you really want to group into an Olaf with 3 kills and a Sivir?
Do you have much of a choice?
No, you don't.
It's hard to say because this is a little bit new territory for H2K. They're usually the team that's up about 1,000 to 2,000 gold at 10 minutes, a little bit more at 20. Right now, they're down 4,000. This is Fnatic. This is right now still looking like the best team in Europe.
Yeah, and TP is going to be ready for Huni soon. If he goes for home guards as well fairly early, he's going to be another way for Fnatic to try and start. Like, right now, if you look at Fnatic's lineup, it's honestly going to be about Huni when it comes to starting the fights, or the Olaf with the Sivir ulti to jump in on H2K when they start moving Rainover.
He's going a little crazy, pops his ulti on, but he's got backup. Lulex realizes too late as he's stunned up by the Root Prison, able to flash away. That blue buff will go over to Fnatic. Yellowstar, however, is locked up. There's the Monsoon. Huni is duking it out with Kasing, and the Shock Blast damage hits him in the face. Huni finishes him off. Kasing now caught up. Rainover running around, hoping to dodge the rockets from Yarn, and that's a double kill to the Rise. And who cares about that KDA when you can just keep stacking them up like that as he tries to get away? No, he won't. 2 down from Fnatic, but they took 2 of H2K with them.
And this is the poke coming in from H2K. They need to land this before the fights, not after them. Eventually snipe somebody out as I rudely interrupt the Fissio right there.
No. I was going to say almost the same. I was just going to talk about how you have this Rise with barely no cooldown on his snare. And you have a Jace, who then has the easiest target in the world because it's snared anyway. So whenever we have these fights here, if H2K ever gets caught by Rooney, that's a mix of Huni, obviously.
That's the wrong sport, the Fissio.
Huni Febiven is gonna smack you in the head with a shock blast, and you're gonna die very, very fast. I like the play room from Fnatic, saying we don't want to allow you to group, so we're gonna try and force a fight here on objective, and take it that way.
So this is the problem for H2K when they face a triple threat composition, because you're getting snared by Rooney, you're getting hit by the Ola.
It's a good name, man.
I love it. And then you get hit by a Chase, but then you forget all about Reckless, who's still in that fight, you know, bouncing blades, boomerang coming out, dealing so much damage. And if you want to catch him, they're so swift, so nimble. Very movement speed based composition, and yet again with the Talisman of Ascension.
Here's a problem though, and for Fnatic, look at the bot lane. Reckless is sitting there. He's the main wave there. This allows H2K now to finally group up, start landing some great poke. You saw how Kasing were moving on the side of the tower, being ready to dive in case Fnatic stayed for too long, or H2K saw an opportunity. Now Reckless is swapping back in though in this mid lane, but H2K, they have to group at this point here, and they have to try and gain an advantage through their poke.
The problem that they're having right now is they are literally eating every shock blast that Febiven is sending their way. They might have a double poke composition, but Febiven is outputting that much more damage straight to them.
And you have a Rumble who's forced to try and sit and farm, but can never really one-on-one anyone.
Honestly, that is the strength and the weakness of both these compositions. Whoever gets ahead in the early to mid game, because their teams are so good at snowballing their advantage and just knowing what their spikes are, knowing what their strengths and weaknesses are, whoever gets ahead early will continuously snowball that, both with those poke components, then with the engages, with the all-ins. And we saw every time H2K go for a pick, just not enough damage, and then they get collapsed by Fnatic. And I believe the same would have happened if Fnatic was behind, but Fnatic never seems to get behind.
Not this split, that's for sure. They are right now sitting at, of course, those 8 victories. If they win this one today, guys, remember, they will tie their record from back in 2013 and will have beaten everyone else in the European LCS.
But the record is impressive for me, but what's more impressive is the fashion and the manner in which they did it. They've had convincing wins in about 7 out of 9 games. Reckless on the hunt.
See if he can get away right now. He's going to have to burn his flash as well. Summoner and Ultimate. This sets H2K up with control of the Dragon Pit, but they don't have the Crab, and they're not going to go for it.
Every time Fnatic sends Reckless to the bot lane to start a push for Fnatic, it allows H2K to group a little bit and establish some vision control around the mid lane. They're using it here to almost create a pick. Got a flash lead. That can be important for the next fight.
Kasing is such a confident player. That's not enough. He's forced out. Fnatic has vision control yet again.
They just can't keep control of this side of the map, and this is, again, Fnatic. Their neutral objective control is really second to none here. You look at the number of dragons and barons that they are able to secure on enemy teams, it's just absolutely through the roof. H2K are good at fighting, and they're good at taking towers, but Fnatic is a team that you can't just do that against.
But H2K needs to go in and push the mid lane out here. They need to find a way to get Fnatic to move away from this river, otherwise they will never go in and contest the wards, because if they do, you just risk getting snared. Rainover gets a perfect engage. So again, Fnatic, they're not running hard engage, they need you to run towards them. And H2K are pushing out the mid lane here, forcing H2K, or Fnatic in, sorry.
Agree with the Fisio right here. You don't want to go through these choke points. However, Febiven was low on mana. They dodged enough pokes for him to run out of mana, and obviously if you're out of mana, you can't poke. And this opens up the map for H2K, and I hope they spotted this because they should burn this dragon down quick.
I just really like it. From Ryu going in, pushing out the wave, Fnatic sends 2 guys in to stop the push, and also Febiven going back to base, and suddenly H2K, they open it.
Oh! Rainover!
Are you serious?
There's your dragon control right there.
3 dragons now.
Oh, this is so
20
big.
minutes in.
Imagine the difference. Fnatic now gained 5% extra movement speed, whereas H2K would have gotten 6 or 8% extra damage on both AP and AD, which is ideal for a poke composition. This is such a big steal. A big mistake by H2K.
Oh, Huni's going to have to burn that flash. He gets out of the way of the equalizer.
Look at the mid lane too.
Down a lot.
Jason's just going to whack away at the tower once the mid lane arrives.
I still can't believe Rainover just did that.
Well, I can't believe H2K let him do that. How can you let an axe steal a dragon?
They didn't have any vision around the back of the pit. They took that a little hasty.
No, you have a smite.
You have a smite.
I mean,
and there's only Shock Blast
yeah.
could steal it. Potentially, but Febiven was in the base, so... Oh, unlucky, as they used to say in Europe.
I think I still say it in Europe.
It does really, once again, make it hard for H2K. They're trying to use the current spike they have. Not really paying off, except for that mid tower they finally got taken down now from Ryu. Had such a good setup though around the dragon itself, and how they played around Fnatic and them having control. Really like the mid lane push for them.
5% move speed on Fnatic right now. It's on the hunt. Talisman of Ascension and the Janna passive. All they need right now is Captain Boots. And then choo choo choo, the pain train is coming.
Well, for the time being, H2K are still in the hold after the giving up that dragon. They're still down 4,500 gold 22 minutes into this game. They've just not been able to work as fast as Fnatic have been able to themselves. And this is a team that's built around that mid game right now.
And the power spikes H2K hit earlier are falling off. Singy will have to ulti here.
He's going to throw down the Unbreakable Will, gets the knockup on Huni, but in comes Rainover. Lulex, it's a 2v2, but Yellow Star's around the side. She'll land a little bit of coin. In comes Odo and immediately bursted down. Rainover running wild now into the team as he's Ragnarocking. That's going to be Odo going down. Rainover will pick up another. And H2K a little slow to respond to this one. Monsoon keeping Rainover alive, but the Phosphorus Bomb finishes him off. In comes Huni. There's no backup for the team. 2 for 1, H2K.
Whenever the Sivir ulti is down for Reckless, Fnatic will struggle to get to the backline of H2K. There's a lot of ways for him to keep kind of back a very long range poke. Using it right here, see if they can wave clear as well.
Yeah, they can. But you talked about that snare into poke VCO. I want to talk about how much damage H2K can do once that Varus ulti connects. Because we saw that there. Varus ulti connects, max range, max damage Q for Ryu. And Bjarni came in to finish it off. And Huni, yeah, he went a little bit too Huni.
Just a little bit, but it is
Don't
still...
go full Huni, guys.
It is still showing what H2K wanted to do with their composition.
Yeah.
It's just been delayed for them. It's been made a lot more difficult because of the way Fnatic managed to play out that lane swap and the early kills they've been able to pick up for themselves.
So if you're H2K right now, I feel like you really can't rely on Fnatic to continue to make those mistakes. This is a team that definitely learns. What else do they really need to be doing to catch back up in this game?
I mean, they want to look for picks. Even though they're running a poke composition right now, if they siege up, I believe the movement speed advantage is so big on Fnatic that they just want to find somebody, lock him down with CC. They lose the flash on Kasing, which is big, so the only reliable engage they have is slowing down with Equalizer, catching up, or the Varus ulti. So Rio will have to be Korean Sniper.
And H2K really needs to be able to find waves, find ways to push out the waves. That's difficult to say for some reason.
Tongue twister.
Because if they start being pushed into their own base, they will fall behind in vision control, which will then open up the river for Fnatic. And as we saw around the Dragon here, H2K cannot walk in and face check them.
Nope.
That's going to happen around Baron as well. So if you suddenly hit the point where you cannot push out your waves, you will be at the point where your poke comp simply won't work.
I actually like picking up multiple blue orbs in situations like this. When you play like these double poke comps, I feel having the opportunity to scout ahead with that scrying orb to facilitate poke and just checking objectives from far without having the threat of running into poke or face checking is quite big, and you don't really need to T-ward as much because there's so much burst check potential on both sides that you want to just find the enemies roughly where they are. Try land your poke.
Very key tower going down here for Fnatic though. Yana was pushing down the bottom lane for himself. Was building towards the BT, but realizing he needs more damage, so going for Infinity Edge for himself on this Corki here, but it's going to be fairly delayed for him, even though he picked up those 2 kills from before. Fnatic, we talked about this, how you get river control and then you start setting up and they're going in.
They are going in. Odo one, he's gonna melt, gets off the Equalizer, but Rainover comes on in. Lulex is down, Febivin will get the finishing blow. 2 quick kills for Fnatic, and they make that brush once again famous for their name.
Make that 3 scrying orbs, Deficio. They face checked and they died.
Now this Baron is the next on the plate for Fnatic. It goes down oh so quick. No response from H2K. Even if they wanted to, they got no smite. They've got no power. And Fnatic in a serious lead.
Almost the most beautiful thing in the world there. 5-man Baron, synchronous recall. Rainover slacking a little bit. I'll give it an 8.5.
It's respectable.
Well, they should be able to get the next Dragon now. With the fact they have a Baron buff. It's going to be 4 in a row now for Fnatic with the steal before from Rainover. H2K, you can see how they're already trying to set up around it. Just like, we need to start contesting this. Otherwise, Fnatic's going to get 5 Dragons as well. And like, there's so little we can do.
And this could be such a good 2-step punch as well. Get the Dragon and look at that massive bot wave. If they can buff those creeps up, suddenly that double poke will no longer be able to clear that wave. And then Fnatic can really open up the map.
It's pretty open at the moment. as they were able to grab that blue buff away, and H2K were scattering the moment they saw them coming. This Dragon, before we can even pan over to it, it's nearly dead. Number 4 in the bank for Fnatic. They are 1 away from Aspect. H2K have gotten nothing on this game but 3 towers and 6 kills.
And such a convincing, I wouldn't say victory just yet, but game so far from Fnatic. And it's the point I was trying to make earlier. If they do this against all these teams in Europe, and they go 9-0 in such a convincing fashion, what's going to stop them from doing it again?
Getting that 18-0.
This is the team. We know H2K, known for being one of the very smart teams here in Europe. They've spent many weeks preparing for this match. We spoke to Prawley, but right now they're getting scattered to the winds.
And Fnatic not allowing H2K to sit and try and wave there. It's obviously very hard with the Baron buff minions, but they instantly go in, like shock blast everything. Huni running forward with his ulti, forcing H2K to back away from the tower and just give it up for free because they're that far behind. And the combo obviously needs time to sit and land that damage.
And this Baron buff is just facilitating the push because H2K can't wave clear. They're eating so much damage while trying to do it. And yeah, Fnatic might be the first team to challenge that epic win ratio Cloud9 had in their initial split.
Yes, indeed. Well, I said it a little bit earlier, H2K, they need to rely on getting those picks. The problem is, the moment they step away from their minion line, that's what happened. Look at Rio's health bar, that's 1 shock blast.
Every time he charges up a spear to launch, Kevin says, well, I have one of those too. Thank you, says Reckless.
Spell shield, give him some mana right back. The item spikes too, I mean, they've been getting out of control. We wanted to touch on this a little bit earlier, but, you know, this is how this Jace can go. Look at the damage he's able to put out. Huni now is getting big. This tower, they can't defend it.
There's also a prime example of what happens when you play these mid-game poke compositions and you don't get that lead. You never really get to group up. Like, the snowball looks even worse in that sense because Fnatic's comp here are basically built around with the amount of movement speed and the poke from February to just get onto H2K.
Look at the respect from Fnatic though. When you see H2K in similar positions when they're ahead, they will try and open up an inhibitor with this advantage. Fnatic says, okay, no, what can we get here? 3 outer towers. That's another, you know, 3,000 gold.
Next dragon.
What's next? We're at 4 Owen Dragons. We have complete vision control. We have poke advantage. Why would we rush an inhibitor and potentially throw? Now let's just wait for 5th dragon and Baron. And I really hope Fnatic get that for a spectator point of view because I want to see how much damage Femervin does on one of those combos with Aspect of the Dragon and a Baron buff.
You can really tell that Fnatic is a team that is much learned and improved, not just from the spring split, but even some of their previous games. We're talking about this methodical, surgical style of play that they're now developing that, you know, everyone remembers those really memorable, those crazy Unicorns games where it was back and forth, dive the Nexus and try to just kill everyone before you can finish it, really hectic plays. That is not really Fnatic so much anymore. This is a team that is growing and learning, and they're looking nigh unstoppable.
They just have the whole package as a Western team at the moment. You have the players, you have the strategy, a lot of praise for Daylor as well, the coach of Fnatic organization with what they've built up around here. So praise to them, but also to H2K. I mean, yes, they are falling behind in this game here, but they have still been so fantastic throughout the entire split, even last split as well when it came into the LCS.
Yeah, I think we're about to see a clear 1, 2, and 3 in the European LCS so far, but going back to this game, I really feel Fnatic is one of the only teams that have been successful in bringing out an off-meta champion. What Olaf is to Fnatic, I don't see any other team having this pocket pick that's so unique to them that works. I mean, we've seen many Volibears, but
many Volibears?
We've seen many
2,
successful Olafs.
Which in my book, 2 Volibears is too many.
We had a Wukong earlier today as well.
Hey,
yeah,
I didn't mind the Wukong.
But anyways, with this Olaf pick, the funny thing for Fnatic is it's, you know, when we saw it last week, when we saw it before, it was, you know, they comboed it up with the Lulu. The idea was throw all the shields on and run in. Janna can give you a little bit of that, but it's not nearly as potent. Even so, Reignover's had a standout performance. He's obviously the primary tank of this team, but you were talking in Champ Select about how it's not necessarily the optimal tank pick. That ultimate, though, they just cannot stop him, and they keep charging forward, and they run over H2K.
The thing is, what is nice with Olaf in this composition, if you stay even or ahead, is all you need to do is land 1 axe, and these guys are so good at skill shots that they can probably hit them without any slows, but once that axe connects, targets are slow, that's easy poke. Here's Reignover again.
Might see this one again. He doesn't even have to get slowed, he gets stopped, and he gets ran right over
by Rooney.
And Huni and Reignover combo up, charging forward. Will they try to end the game right here, right now?
Oh, only one dead on the side of H2K. Trying to clear the wave at least, but Fnatic pushing in. This Olaf pick as well. when you start snowballing, it just gets completely out of control. They're going in.
Yep, Yarden's going to be the one targeted out. Meanwhile, Lulek's getting pushed back. The Monsoon keeps everyone from Fnatic alive. The axe is dodged by Yarden, but meanwhile, there's not too many H2K members left as a double kill comes in for Febivin. All 5 members of Fnatic standing strong, tanking the turrets. This could be it, boys.
Only 2 things are certain in this game. It's death and axes. As Reignover goes in and just takes down H2K over and over again.
Fnatic have taken everything away from this team. As smart as they've looked, as well as they've been able to adapt to just about everyone else in the LCS. Here in Europe, Fnatic still looking like the kings. 32 minutes and a half on the clock. We're approaching Dragon number 5 and a near flawless victory.
Now I have a question for you, Deficio. Is Fnatic holding back out of respect? Or are they styling with the 5 buffs and the Dragon and the Baron?
Playing it safe.
Calculated. Sealed you?
Now they need to.
They probably take like 6 more Dragons and Barons.
I also like Yellowstar more than you, Critical.
I can't blame you. Dude can actually shot call.
Self-burn.
What do you do here? Do you want a Baron? You want 5 Dragons? I mean, I like the Baron to stop the wave play from H2K. And you don't really mind them too much getting that single one. I mean, okay, the 6% is nice in the late game.
Would you rather do more poke? They die already if you poke them.
That's the thing.
Would you rather have your minions stay alive? I would.
Yeah, I would.
Smart trade there for
I mean,
Fnatic.
it's easy to agree with Fnatic. They're usually doing the right thing.
So really the only thing H2K is able to do there is they slow down that potential 5th Dragon if it even needs to happen. But right now they've got Baron empowered minions, stacking 4 on the top side. They're letting Reignover run up the mid. We can 4-1 this one in. Let's see what's going to happen.
These items of Febivin. Bloodthirst, Lost Whisper.
We don't have time for that.
Reckless.
Reckless is down! And that might make Fnatic think twice about this one. They might be caught snoozing for a second.
That was all the damage.
I don't think anyone expected that one.
We with the full combo. Not sure what was spell shielded from Reckless. If he even spell shielded anything. Instantly goes down.
I think his spell shield came out after the Varus ulti connected. But we'd have to see that again. Let's see Fnatic do with 4 members alive. Honestly, they could probably win 4v5. But resilient H2K, I like it. They're not giving up. They know if they wait too long, they'll get poked out, so they go for a play immediately, even though on paper, Reckless could survive that. Snipe him out.
Still just buying time for H2K. I mean, there's no objective on the map, really. You just got that 1 Dragon, so yes, you stop 5 Dragons, you got the 6%, that's great. But you're basically just waiting for Reckless to respawn, and then you have to do the same again. You need to try and catch out Fnatic if they overextend, if they make a mistake. And then maybe you can translate that into a tower.
Yeah, and this game has gone so accelerated so fast that, yes, we're 35 minutes in. The death timers are still not that long, and I feel like that's where a lot of that respect for Fnatic is coming in, but that's changing the more and more the game goes. Let's see if they charge in here. In goes the equalizer, Reignover runs right through it, and now Lulek is evaporated, and Fnatic on the chase, but Reckless. Oh, he popped back for just a second. That looked dangerous. Reignover running through the middle, looking to pick off Ryu. Will they do it? He does. Pick him off. It's Febivin that gets the kill. The Monsoon will heal them up. Kasing, that cow is not so tanky. A triple kill for the Jace. They'll have to stop because it's definitely hammer time. 4 members down now for H2K. And this game looks to be all but over. Fnatic, the last team standing against them here in Europe, is going to fall along with their Nexus. 9-0. Fnatic have tied their 2013 record for wins in the European LCS.
And what a game, honestly.
It's just so hard to find a mistake.
No, there's very few, and all mistakes Fnatic made, I feel, are just beautiful openings by H2K, and it looked easy, and this just makes me wonder who is going to stop Fnatic, and when.
No team has. They've played everyone once now, and they've dismantled all of them. There have been a couple of closer games than others, but
that's fun enough being against lower teams, where Fnatic maybe like fall a little bit behind in the early game, and then they find their way back into it. Whenever they faced H2K in Origin, we got to see almost a different kind of Fnatic, where they were
fully focused.
One step ahead, fully focused. They get that early lead both games, and just use it to make it honestly fairly one-sided by the end of the game.
I still think this game was, as weird as it sounds, decided by the teleport that Oduamna had to do to the mid lane and eventually ended up cancelling. I think that opening created by Reignover yet again, because that's the man we miss a lot, because he is the one that sets all these wheels in motion. Forces the gank, connects the axe, Ryu flashes. Oduamna thinks he has to help his teammates, wants to be the first one TPing in, because Huni is always so quick on a TP. Then he doesn't have the TP anymore, so he has to stay on that bottom tower. And yeah, they do what H2K did to Copenhagen Wolves last week. What H2K did to Giants last week. They simply dive the tower, the top laner behind, then they even up the lanes, and yeah, it's too late.
They just never give you a chance to think. As soon as you start falling behind us a little bit, Fnatic knows exactly what to do, and they punish you for it. Oduamna then falls even further behind. He was never really in this game.
No.
I mean, and Huni, even though he was playing Ryze here in the lane swap, got so much farm.
Yeah, so that's pretty much just it. Fnatic complete that surgical dismantling of H2K. For now, we're going to go ahead and send it side stage where Pulse is going to have a word with Yellowstar.
Thank you, Pyra. I'm joined here by Yellowstar, the support from Fnatic with his win. Starting off, well, congratulations on the win. This now makes you 9-0, equaling the run that Fnatic had in 2013 in the spring split. What does this win mean to you?
Basically, H2K was like the top 2 team, so it's like a relief to win against them. Now we won all our matches, the first ones, and we're really happy about that. So we'll try to continue and work even harder in order to perform even better.
Oh, good stuff. And now looking back as well at last year, how do you think this roster compares to the roster you had this time in the spring split?
It's hard to compare, but I would say we're really willing to perform. We are giving everything we have, and yeah, I mean, it just shows our performance. We're just improving day after day, and I think we're on the good path.
Well, talking about improvement, even when you look at the last split you had with this same roster, you guys have improved massively. If you look at your playstyle, it's very chaotic coming in spring. Now it's way more controlled. You're by far one of the strongest teams, if not the strongest team in Europe right now. What created those changes on your side?
In my opinion, it was that the individual play is more, we have to control ourselves, because before we're just going in, and then now we just have to control our emotions. So I would say it's more a work on ourselves more than a work in our play style. So, I mean, it's hard. It's more on our personal level. And I think we're doing great on that. And yeah, I hope that we'll just improve even more.
Well, it's definitely worked out so far, Yellowstar. Well, now looking forward to tomorrow, you will be facing Gambit. Earlier on, Origin made short work of them. They will be the gatekeepers if they take you out. Do you think you can take them up?
We'll try our best for sure. But yeah, I think they can maybe surprise us. But we'll see tomorrow, and just stay tuned.
Well, thank you very much for joining me and taking the time to talk to me. We're actually going to send it over to the analyst desk to dissect the rest of that game.
Thank you, Pulse, and actually dissect a couple of things that Yellowstar said. Very interesting. Lee also said, well, we're willing to perform. We're on a good path. Really underplaying the dominance that Fnatic has right here once again. Like, I need to find even more superlatives to talk about them because it's been incredible.
It really has. And, you know, we were talking about it, who's going to stop them. And they've now beaten every team in Europe once. So what else do you need?
Yeah, they need to see. If they beat Gambit tomorrow, who have been a gatekeeper for the record, they might be able to break that all-time 9 winning streak. But Gambit will have to see if they can stop it. I'm not expecting it.
Yeah. Oh, you never know. That's their job.
You never know, but it's an interesting dynamic because Fnatic actually shut Gambit down to defend their own streak the last time Fnatic were in this kind of position with Gambit. So it's a very interesting match.
Yeah, I'm sure Gambit just really wants to win that matchup. Earlier today, we asked you guys at home as well what makes a top tier team. Fnatic obviously one of those, and at Talonflame said, I don't know what makes a top team, but having Huni definitely helps. It showed again in this game, although it wasn't that pure one-on-one dominance, but kind of his team that enabled him to especially shut Oduamne down.
Yeah, definitely. This was the first time that we've seen a team somewhat diverge away from trying to target ban Huni. Coming into this week, almost every other team had 1-2 bans almost minimum going towards Huni. H2K adapted, they banned away the Riven. This is a champion we've not seen Huni play, and it was because they were prioritizing the Rumble. Riven into Rumble is a matchup we're seeing out of the LCK region significantly. We saw it Challenger yesterday as well. Rumble first pick from Odoamne did not work out. The lane swap countered him. Fnatic played aggressively around that lane. At 20 minutes, Odoamne had 53 CS on the board. It is the lowest of a top laner throughout the entirety of the summer split. It is less than half of what Odoamne has got in his previous lowest record. That Rumble was non-existent and non-relevant. Fnatic fought 5v4 the whole game because of the strategic decisions.
And that had a big knock-on effect to the rest of how H2K could play the game, because normally, even if a Rumble gets a little behind, he will always have that teleport presence using the equalizer. Really key thing in this game, Odoamne was severely under-leveled. He was only hitting level 11 at 28 minutes into the game. That is the latest for any solo laner in the summer split so far. And the key point to that is Deficio talked earlier about how much of the H2K damage threat Odoamne actually comprises. 28%, that's second on his team. If that's not there, H2K are going to struggle to win.
Definitely, and if you step back and look at the bigger picture for Fnatic, they neutralized Odoamne in one of the most efficient, clean ways I've ever seen a team neutralize an opponent threat. Last week against Origin, target ban Mythy. This is something Fnatic's never done, 3 support bans. They are able to analyze and dissect what their opponents do well, and they can find ways to counter it. Jace Mid from Fairhaven, it worked out. You know, the tweet earlier talking about Huni helps. Yellow Stars died once in 6 games.
I know. Well, Yellow Star, we talked about them as a backbone a lot of times, and this is just showing it once again. You touch on it's not quite the immense depth of champion pool that we've seen already, because Fnatic, before this game, 23 different champions picked before coming into this. That is not the most vast, but it's the way they apply it. I do want to touch on H2K to finish this out, because in my opinion, before Fnatic got the 3rd dragon, because Olaf went with my axe, I feel like H2K recognized that they were behind at that point, and they did quite a good job stalling. Varus had some good snipes in there. They were waiting, but I feel like the Dragon Seal was the straw that broke the camel's back.
I completely agree, and I also think that for H2K, when they fell behind, they had a few desperation plays that didn't necessarily work out. That tower dive mid lane into Febevin comes to mind. A little bit of hesitation. They took so long to set it up and go in that Fnatic could respond. I think H2K did okay from playing from behind, but unfortunately, as you say, there was just too many things they had to contest with, and the fact that Odoamne was a non-factor at all, Fnatic never presented themselves for good equalizer targets. It made it very difficult for H2K to bounce back. So, solidly in 2nd place. I'm looking forward to the rematches as we go into the second half of this split, but for the time being, just a fantastic performance from Fnatic.
Definitely some lessons to be learned from H2K. Fnatic, they've kept their win streak alive for now at least, but there's more LCS coming your way with Elements and SK Gaming facing off to end our day. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
What? You're playing for my mom and dad. They're sitting in front of you.
Yeah, it's true.
I can see them.
Fabian Burns are over there.
Oh, yeah.
Lobby time, guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's gonna hurt for H2K. Rekus, though.
Right around the side. He's going to find Lulex, and Ryu's going to find Rainover. Rainover finds him, takes him down.
Equipment going back to base, and suddenly H2K, they open it.
Oh! Rainover!
Are you serious?
Yeah, we can.
Rumble, let's go. Go.
Nice.
Rek'Sai.
Don't go too deep. Don't go too deep. Don't go too deep.
Rek'Sai and go dash. I have smite.
Looking to pick off Ryu. Will they do it? He does. Pick him off. It's Febevin that gets the kill. The Monsoon will heal them up. Kasing, that cow is not so tanky. Fnatic have tied their 2013 record.